All right. Hello, guys. It is Saturday once again, January 13th today, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, and that means it is time for me to go live and spend some time hanging out with you guys here on my channel. So I really appreciate you guys coming and joining us live today. If you are here for the live broadcast, the benefit of live, of course, is that we get to interact in real time. And so if you are here, please feel free to leave some comments and participate. And I have the ability to bring our chat right up here on the screen. And as you can see, Luke is already here. Hey, Luke, good to see you. Thanks for being here. Right on time. Look at you. But yeah, so we can have live conversations and stuff like that. And if you're not joining us live and you're watching the replay at a later date, well, why didn't you join us live? Make sure you subscribe to my channel and click that little notification bell, and you'll be notified every time I go live, so you can hang out with us in here. So each week we do these live shows, and each week I like to have a little bit of a theme or a discussion going on. And this week we've got one that's been on my mind a lot lately, and probably has been on a lot of people's minds, and could really be a heated debate depending on how we go about this. But it is about Hollywood. Does Hollywood still make good movies? So, you know, we're talking about traditional Hollywood. We're talking about the big studios, the stuff that, you know, you're paying and going to the theaters to see. Now you're ending up paying a lot more money than we used to go see. So we're trying to figure out, you know, are these movies still worth the price of admission? Are we still seeing good storytelling? And that's sort of how I'm going to define good, because good is obviously a very subjective thing depending on what kind of movies you like. But I'm really going to sort of wrap good in the context of being, you know, stories we haven't seen before, characters that we care about, storylines that keep us engaged, maybe take you on a little bit of an emotional roller coaster, you know, stuff like that. That's what I'm going to define good as for today. So let's see here. We've got a few more people in here. Black Magic Tim. Hey, buddy. Good to see you. Glad you could join. Good friend of mine. Does a lot of work over there with Gear Jones. So if you guys haven't checked out their stuff, make sure to go and do that. Yeah, he's awesome, and I've done some collaborations with them. But he says, no, they don't, but they make money. And that's a good point. That's something that I'm actually going to look into today. We're going to go through the top box office films based on how much they made of 2017, and see if these are actually quality movies or if they're just stuff that people are just going to see explosions and shove popcorn into their face, which sometimes I like. I'm guilty of that myself, guys. So, you know, there's nothing wrong with that. But we want to see, like, are they really still innovating and making good stories? Let's see here. Luke says, Film Riot should do this. Live streaming is awesome. Yeah, you know, I've always thought that. I like that Ryan is doing his little Monday chats, sort of in a similar setup to this, but all their questions and stuff come in ahead of time. But I have a feeling that if Film Riot did a live stream, they would have so many comments and so many people in there, it would be absolutely impossible for them to have any sort of real engagement. And you know, there'd be some trolls in there just spamming everything. So maybe they're smart, being as large as they are, not to do live stream. Daniel Troger agrees that Film Riot should try and do live stream. So maybe they will. New Legend Pictures, hey, welcome, good to see you. I'm glad we've got a few people in here right off of the start, so I appreciate that, guys. So we're going to be just sort of free-form talking and going through, like I said, we're going to look at some of the top box office movies of 2017 and see if these are good movies or if they're just sort of junk that we as the masses are consuming anyway. And I want to hear from you guys too, so make sure to keep popping in there in that chat, and let me know movies that you have either loved, that you think are really quality, or movies that you really were disappointed by, or that you wish Hollywood would stop making, you know, just stop doing this. You know, we've seen a lot of reboots and stuff like that, and that's something that I feel is sort of lazy. You know, they're going by, well, this made money before, so let's make it again, but sort of update it. And sometimes the reboots are fantastic, don't get me wrong, but it seems like the safe route, and, you know, they want to make money. But, you know, the best stories I find and the best movies that I really enjoy are ones that they break the mold, and they decided to take a risk on this story that, you know, had never been done before. They didn't know if this would work, and they end up being amazing movies. So we have a few of those, but they seem to be fewer and far between and whatnot. So let's see what we got here. We got a few people in here. Sean Mark Nipper, hey, good to see you, buddy. Friend from over at the Photo Joseph channel. Good to see you. I'm glad you made it by here. Sean says Logan. Yeah, Logan is an awesome movie. I really, really enjoyed that. That's the idea of, you know, that had a story, that had a character that, yes, a lot of us already loved previously from all the other films. But even if you watched that as just a standalone without having watched anything else with Wolverine and Logan in it, I think it stands alone as a film. You quickly understand what he has gone through in his life. You care about his situation. You care about the characters in it. And I think the film develops that itself, and then it takes them through a great story arc. And then I won't give away the ending in case there's one person out there who hasn't seen it yet. Go see it. But yeah, that ticks all the boxes of great storytelling, and I think that was a very good movie. And that's one that I think was a risk too, because they were doing this darker story that they hadn't really done before. You know, yes, Deadpool had sort of set a precedent as being an R-rated superhero film, but still, you know, it wasn't the norm. It's a much darker story, and it was a risk, and it's a risk that I'm glad that they took, because I think the world is better for having that movie. And yeah, that was a great one. Cess Outdoors, welcome, says Star Wars. Star Wars is a heated debate right now. It's either a love it or hate it kind of thing. As you can see, I have my Last Jedi poster up there. I was one of the people who did indeed love it, but I think that is because I have a deep-seated love for Star Wars in general, and I want to go and see it again, and I want to watch it more objectively, and I want to see how it stands up as a movie, like how it's constructed as a movie. You know, when I was there, I was, you know, wide-eyed and slow tear coming down my face, like just so happy, even with like just the opening credit scroll. And so now I want to go and see it in the mindset of sort of breaking it down as a film and seeing what I think of it. It's not going to change my perspective. I still absolutely love it. I mean, it's Star Wars. But it'd be interesting to do. And that's something that I encourage you guys to do. If you have a film or a series of films that you absolutely just love, start thinking about, do you love it because they could do no wrong for you just because of the subject? Maybe it is something like a Star Wars or something like that. And then if that is the case, try and take a look at it objectively, break it down, maybe even map it out on paper, like the character arcs and the you know, the beats in the story, and see how it holds up. And you know, it might turn out that you have good taste and you like good movies that are structured well and tell a good story, and then good on you. Black Magic Tim here says, risk-taking is gone from Hollywood. It's about major recoups. Netflix is the best new change for quality, diverse cinema at the moment. Yeah, and that's one thing that I want to talk about and bring up too, is traditionally, Hollywood was it. You know, when we wanted to see a movie, there was pretty much only one place that movies were coming from. It was Hollywood. And it's been that way for decades and decades and decades. But now as we're moving into this more digital age where we're consuming stuff at home, you know, we don't necessarily have to go to a movie theater to see these things. We have stuff like Netflix that is, you know, increasing and becoming a real power player, and Amazon Prime as well. But not only for distribution, now they're getting into production. And so they're starting to create their own content and movies and shows outside of that Hollywood world. And it's creating competition, and I think that's a good thing. Competition is always a good thing. We don't want a monopoly because they get complacent. So now that we're getting competition, and maybe fewer people are going to the theaters and seeing these Hollywood blockbusters, and maybe are staying at home and consuming more of the Netflix and Amazon Prime original content, maybe it'll step up Hollywood's game. Maybe they'll realize, hey, we got to start doing something a little bit different. The cookie cutter molds we've been using forever aren't working. And sad to say, but I think you're right. I think protecting money and income is the driving force in Hollywood. And it really is a big business, and I think some of the creativity has been pulled out of it. And unfortunately, money seems to be the only language they speak. And Netflix and Amazon, I think, are going to speak that same language with them, and are going to start taking some cuts from them. And I think we're going to see some stuff. An example of that is that Netflix movie Bright that just came out recently. Now, I have not seen it. I've heard both really, really good and really, really bad things about it. It seems to be one where either you love it or you hate it. And I want to watch it because of that. It would have gone completely under my radar had it not been for all this online debate about whether it was good or not. So now I want to check it out and see. But I mean, that's it's a blockbuster feature-length film produced entirely by Netflix. It's not necessarily what we used to call a B movie or something like that. It's got Will Smith, it's got credible characters, it's got a lot of money and a budget behind it. And so I think we're going to see a lot more of that, and I think that that'll be a good thing. Let's see what we got here. Go through some comments, and then we're going to look at some films here. Sean Mark Nipper says, Blade Runner, visually stunning. Left with questions, and I'm good with that. Yeah, I absolutely loved Blade Runner. 2049, it did not do well in the theaters. I think that's because it's been so long. I think a lot of people didn't know really what it was. I'm kind of surprised the star power of Harrison Ford and Ryan Gosling didn't draw more younger people who might not have been familiar with the original Blade Runner to it. But I really enjoyed it. It was absolutely visually stunning. It was a good movie. You break that one down into the story and the character arcs, and man, everything is there. It's great. I loved it. My wife, she didn't realize that I was such a huge Blade Runner fan. And so I was ordering us tickets for like opening night, and she's like, wait, you really want to see this? And I'm like, yes, very badly. And so I think I've tried to have her watch Blade Runner on a few occasions, the original, and she never quite made it through. Granted, it's a long movie, but she really enjoyed Blade Runner 2049, so that was good. Trevor, hey, good to see you, buddy. Movies for me seem to be an hour and a half to 2 hours of movie and 1 hour of story. They become too VFX and settings driven, like costumes make them so. Yeah, so there's a lot of flash that they try and throw in there. I always call it like the Michael Bay effect, where if you don't have story, just replace it with explosions, and the audience seems to love it. And sadly, it does work. What are we up to, like 5 Transformers movies, and they keep doing well, but they're awful. Like, I have seen them all, including this last one, The Last Night, and man, is it bad. Like, but you still watch it, 3D glasses, gallon of soda and 2 gallons of popcorn in your lap, and just 3D glasses on, just like, but it's, there is a market for that. But the problem is that when those do well, they keep making them. Because it's a numbers sheet, somebody's looking and saying, this made X amount of dollars, let's do that again. And that's on us as consumers. And I'm not saying that, boycott big Hollywood blockbuster exploding robots movies. No, that's never going to happen. And I'm not saying that we should do that. I'm just saying I wish Hollywood would break away from the numbers and take a little bit more risk. And I think now we're seeing like Netflix and like Amazon Prime and other independent companies. I think they are comfortable stepping out and taking those risks, and I think that we're all better for it, to be honest. So Tim says, music, games, movies all have the same problems. Make money. Yeah, it's about disposable thrills. What we don't have is generational art making. Yeah, and that's what I'm really getting to, is so I went to film school. And when I was going into film school, I was going because I loved telling stories and I loved shooting videos and making films and all that kind of stuff. I did not go to film school because I had the dream of being an overpaid Hollywood producer sitting there and cranking out the same stuff over and over again. I was there because, it was art school. I was an artist. And everyone around me was an artist, and we all had that same passion for that kind of stuff. And I think a little bit of that is gone in Hollywood, at least at the decision-making level. I'm not saying that Hollywood and everyone in it is just a mindless machine just cranking stuff out. I know there are artists there. There's a lot of directors who are amazing artists. And the crews and all the people who are doing all the work on these films are artists, and they have a passion. Like, if you watch the behind the scenes of like Blade Runner 2049, like the costuming and the set designs and all that stuff, all these people are artists. I just think it's up higher at the decision making level, maybe the producers and executive producers level, who decide what gets made and even sort of how it gets made. Sometimes, they'll remove stuff from scripts or say, ooh, that's a little too edgy, let's take that out. I think that's where the creativity has been sucked out. Without the approval and without the money, artists aren't able to make their art. And occasionally we do get amazing stuff coming through. Shape of Water, I haven't seen it yet, from Guillermo del Toro, but I've heard that it's amazing. You get great stuff from these directors, but the thing is, it's becoming a little club of like, there's only a handful of these directors that Hollywood trusts to say, okay, make what you want and we'll give you the money. And then, they make these amazing films, very artistic, great storytelling. But then I'd say the other 75% is just nonsense. I hate to say it, but stuff like the Marvel movies, I absolutely love them. I do. I've seen every single one. I am a huge fan of them. I mean, I have all of the Avengers on my desk here, and the Guardians of the Galaxy right over here. I love that stuff. But I don't want to see them beat that into the ground. It's been a long time and they've been cranking these things out. There are other movies to make. I'm not saying stop with the Marvel stuff. I don't want anyone to jump on me, but I'm just saying, there's a lot of that happening. And I know people who aren't fans of the Marvel movies and, never were big comic book fans. And, one of my buddies is like that. And he asked me, he's like, man, like, how many of these are they going to make? Like, he's just so sick of seeing them crank out like one after the other after the other. And that's a valid viewpoint and a valid complaint. He's a different type of moviegoer than I am. I am a fanboy. So there's that. Let's see here. Trevor says, the weird thing is, though, acting is generational. Okay. There are a lot of families of, there are a lot of multi-generational families of acting in Hollywood, sometimes 2 or 3 generations working at the same time. That's a good point. Yeah. And actors are artists. They play their roles, with dedication and passion and all that. And even in these movies that might not be fantastic, they're still putting themselves into it. So I don't think it's an actor's problem. I don't think it's a crew or director's problem necessarily. I think it's a producer, executive producer, and basically money people level problem is that we're seeing. Tim says, and YouTube is to blame too. ADD, no time to let a story grow and blossom. Audience wants you to get to the point. That is sadly true. Yeah. We are a very instant gratification type of society now. If we want to see something or know something, it's basically at our fingertips. You know, you've got phones and tablets and computers, and now I've got a watch that tells me when to stand up to stay healthy and all that kind of stuff. And so we're very into instant gratification. And so unfortunately, all of that bombarding us does sort of tend to skew people towards liking, all right, just serve it all to me. I don't want to think. I don't want to figure anything out. I don't want to know the undertones. Just show me, show me, show me. Explosion, explosion. I'm happy. And I think that sucks. Whenever I have kids, you better believe they're going to be watching some classic films. And I'm going to get them hooked early on what good storytelling is, and hopefully be able to save them from falling into that you know, instant gratification mindset. I'll do my best. I know it's going to be difficult. Let's see here. And Tim says, yeah, add explosions and fluff to keep the pacing instead of building characters. Like the movie It was good. More character development, less scare tactics. So I haven't seen It. I have it. I have it, but I have not watched it. I have a friend who's a big horror movie fan who I have promised that I will watch it with her. My wife is not a fan of those kinds of movies, so I cannot watch it with her. So I'm holding off to watch the remake of It. But I have heard really, really, really good things. So let's see here, guys. I'm going to pull up a website here for you guys, and we can take a look at some of the stuff that has made money in 2017. Actually made the most money in 2017. So let's take a peek here. I'm going to get us over here. And there we go. Okay, so this is a website called Box Office Mojo. Not sure if you're familiar with it or not, but it's a really cool site. They do a lot of breakdowns of how films do in the theaters. You can do comparisons between them. They just keep all the numbers, and it's great. But what I want to do here is I have the list of the domestic grosses from 2017, from last year. And I want to look at some of these movies here and see if what we're shelling our money out to see are actually quality movies. And I want to see how many are sort of original stories. So let's take a peek here. Sorry, just a quick drink of water. So of course, up here at the top, guys, we have Star Wars: The Last Jedi. So despite, you know, whatever you may think about it, whether you loved it or hated it, it made the most money. But, you know, that is probably riding on the fact that it's freaking Star Wars. So, you know, you got to think like, all right, that's why I want to go and see that one objectively and break it down as a film and see if it holds up. Because, you know, it's hard to tell the quality of it just because, I mean, it's got that name, Star Wars. It's going to do well whether it's absolute garbage or whether it's the greatest film ever made. I think it falls somewhere in between. I was very happy with it personally, but that's just what I'm saying. So number 2 was Beauty and the Beast. Okay, so this is, for all intents and purposes, a reboot. Yes, they did it live action instead of doing, you know, the traditional animated, but this was a reboot. They did tweak the story, you know, a bit. It's not, you know, word for word the way it was in the old cartoon. But that seems like a safe play. Beauty and the Beast is one of the classic Disney animated films. You know, that seems like a safe play to remake Beauty and the Beast. Yeah, I think that was just a smart money move. Wonder Woman. Wonder Woman was awesome. I really enjoyed that, but now we're getting into those superhero movies. In fact, look, the next 3 here. We got Wonder Woman, Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2, Spider-Man Homecoming. Now, I enjoyed all of these movies. Don't get me wrong. Like I said, that whole good thing is subjective. But, you know, I would sort of toss these aside because these are riding on that superhero bandwagon that's happening right now. You know, there wasn't a whole lot of risk involved. You know, there's no risk in making Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 2. You know, it's just going to happen. There's no real risk in making Spider-Man Homecoming. Spider-Man Homecoming, I think, had an amazing story. I think it was really, really well done. So as a movie, I think that one is very strong. I also think Wonder Woman was pretty strong up until the end. It started getting a little wonky for me. Started getting a little too DC, if you know what I mean. They have a tendency to ride the line and then just go absolutely over the top with it and lose it at the end. But Wonder Woman, I thought, was a very, very well done film as well. But you know, these were probably safe plays. You know, riding on that bandwagon of Hollywood films and stuff like that. Or sorry, of superhero films. So we got a couple things here. Luke says that Atomos bottle. Yeah, this is my go-to water bottle. You know, I love it. So. Trevor says Guardians of the Galaxy 2, terrible, big letdown for me. There you go. So I didn't think it was anywhere near as good as the first, but I did enjoy it, but I don't think that it really was that great of a movie from a filmmaking standpoint. I'll say that. But for sheer entertainment and carrying on the series with these characters that we like, I did enjoy it from that aspect. Let's see here. Trevor says I've tried watching Wonder Woman twice and can't get through it. Okay, so you're just knocking down numbers 3 through 5 here, and then Spider-Man average at best. Okay, and Tim says yes and yes. So I'm not sure what he's responding to there. Okay, so let's keep looking at this list. Sorry, it's a little small on your screen, guys, but number 6 is It, which is a reboot. It's a remake. So far, we have Star Wars, major franchise, safe. We have Beauty and the Beast, remake, safe. We have 3 superhero movies, hot as hell right now, superhero movies, safe. We have It, remake, safe. Then we have Thor Ragnarok, another superhero continuing, safe. We have Despicable Me 3. That's continuing a series. It's sort of pointed towards kids a little bit more, but that's probably a safe move. They keep making those, and yeah, you know, it's the 3rd movie. They just keep making it. Jumanji, Welcome to the Jungle. Good God. Okay, so another reboot. Call it a sequel if you will, but it's a freaking reboot. Safe. Justice League. Safe. It's on the superhero bandwagon. Logan. So we can call this sort of safe because it was, you know, it's superhero and all that. But this one I do think was a little bit more of a risk, breaks the mold because they went with that R rating and that darker story. And I do think this one is a good movie. Really, really enjoyed that one. Comes in at number 11 though. So The Fate of the Furious. Good God, like what is that? Like number 9 in that series or something like that? No, I think that's 8. The 8th one, because it was Fate, F and an 8. But it's crazy, you know? The Fate of the Furious. So yeah, they're just cranking out these same things, car explosions and driving cars out of planes and whatnot. It's nonsense. Okay, so there's that. Coco. So here we go. I have not seen this, but I heard that this is an amazing movie. I've heard that it has an amazing story, and it's not like anything else out there. I've heard it's really good. I really want to check it out. I believe it actually has a few Oscar nods so far. You know, we're down to number 13 here before we're hitting something that I would really call, you know, quality. I'm not knocking all those other ones. You know, I loved Logan. I love pretty much everyone on that. I haven't seen Justice League. I'm not really looking forward to it. But, you know, I love a lot of those ones that are at the top of that list. But we're down to 13 before we're getting something that's, I would call quality. And then I'm just going to go through a few more guys. But then Dunkirk. Dunkirk was absolutely amazing. And this is an example of one where, yes, the storytelling was fantastic. But this is an example of, it's Christopher Nolan. He's in that small elite club of directors that they trust enough to say, we will give you money to do whatever you want. And lucky for us, he is an amazing storyteller. He's an amazing cinematographer. And so his films are good. You know, we go and see his films because they are quality, and it's you know, and because we saw his, so there's a series of events here. His films are quality, so that meant we went and saw them, and they did really well, which then means that the studios noticed his films make a lot of money, so now they trust him to give him money to continue making stuff. This is a good example of how it worked. We paid patronage to Christopher Nolan's films, made him successful enough to be in that elite level where Hollywood trusts him, and now we get to get more stuff from him with very little Hollywood, you know, getting in the way and telling him he can't do this or he should do that. So that's a good thing. That worked out. But yeah, that one sits at number 14. So there's a ton of stuff on here, guys. I'm not going to go through it all because it's just, you know, it's a lot of numbers and stuff. But I encourage you to go and take a look at what made the most money in 2017. This is boxofficemojo.com. I'll put a link to this list in the description down below on this video so you can check it out. But I mean, it's ridiculous, guys. I mean, The Boss Baby is in here. It's crazy. Okay, so this is going to start making me mad. I'm just going to come back to the chat with you guys now. But yeah, it's crazy to see, and you can see very clearly from that Hollywood sees what is making money and just plays it safe and cranks out more. Oh, sorry, I'm going crazy here. Okay, so let's see here. Comments. Get Out was great also. Get Out was great. That movie was fantastic. If you haven't seen that, go and see that. That is a fresh, new type of story. It was a really interesting way to do it. You couldn't tell if it was like, you know, was it social commentary? Was it like dark comedy? Was it? It was really good. And yeah, it is being, thank God, recognized for the quality that it was. And I've heard, you know, there's some Oscar hopes for it. So yeah, that's really good. New Legend Pictures. The interesting thing about it was that the original never came out in theaters. It was only a TV movie. Really? I did not know that. Huh. Interesting. Well, thanks for letting us know that. I assumed that it was just, you know, big theater horror movie. So that's interesting. I wonder why it was only on TV. Was it just... I'll look into that. That's pretty cool. Thanks for letting me know. So Trevor, Logan for you was the only movie in the list that's actually memorable for from a character point of view. Yeah. So that is a really good point, and that's one of the things that I mentioned I feel is important to a film is characters that you care about, characters that go through an arc throughout the story, and really well-developed characters are an important thing to have in movies. And with Logan, they really did that. They did a good job. Like I said, even if you had never seen any other film with Hugh Jackman as Wolverine, I think Logan can stand alone and the audience would, within a matter of minutes, understand who he is, understand the hardships that he's facing, and you know, empathize with him. So that's great. And Logan did a fantastic job with that. Dunkirk, big war movie, so of course it's going to do numbers. Yeah, that's a good way to look. And big war movie, yes, but I think more big Christopher Nolan movie, it's going to do numbers. So it probably was a safe play, but like I said, we're lucky in the fact that I think that is where, when money goes to Christopher Nolan, it is in good hands, and he is telling stories. He is telling the stories that he wants to. He finds these projects. He writes these things. He comes up with them, and then he just says, hey, give me a couple $100 million. And they're like, okay. And he doesn't disappoint. So that's good. You know, that is a scenario where we're getting quality from a quality storyteller, a quality artist who's doing a great job. And there are others. Guillermo del Toro with Shape of Water, you know, he's amazing. Steven Spielberg, of course, you know, there are these names. But the problem is, like I said, they're only making a small percentage of the films that are coming out. And granted, they usually are the ones that we see in February up at, you know, the Oscars. But all the rest of the stuff, that's being cranked out and thrown at us, I just don't think is quality. It really is sometimes, just more than sometimes, it's a money-making machine. And I think that pulls a lot of the art out of it. Let's see here. We'll keep going through. Trevor says, it's really disturbing to me how many of these movies I've seen. I need to get off the couch more. Yeah, that happened to me too when I was looking through that list. I was like, oh man, I've seen like all of these. Whoops. But, you know, a lot of people are seeing all of these. And that's the thing is, you know, these things get thrown out and made, whether they're quality or not, and we go see it. And then it makes a whole bunch of money. And then Hollywood just sees the money. And they're like, you know what? Let's do that again. And the cycle continues. So let's see here. Black Magic Tim says, just watched the original It last night. Okay, cool. I haven't watched the original one in a long, long time. But one thing that I want to say about you know, the money making is, you know, Netflix and Amazon Prime. I'm going to use those as the examples because they seem to be the big contenders right now for making, you know, theater quality content. Sorry guys, I'm getting a drink of water. I'm fumbling. Theater quality content outside of the Hollywood bubble, right? And so the interesting thing is Netflix, I'm not sure what their revenue model looks like. Obviously, you know, we pay subscriptions and stuff like that. But we don't have to pay to see the movie when it's released. You know, we just continue our subscription. So they getting, you know, their income is not dependent upon releasing the movie and having people buy tickets to it. Their income is based really on retaining customers and getting people to sign up for their service and stay with them because they make quality. And so the driving force for them is to make quality content, because that's what benefits them. And so I think that's an interesting model as compared to Hollywood, where Hollywood's success is butts in seats. You know, ticket sales, all that stuff. And so they can crank out, you know, the 8th Fast and the Furious film, whether it's good or not. And because they know that they can fill those seats, and that is their metric for success. While with Amazon and Netflix, I think their metric for success is drawing people to them and getting people to enjoy their content. And so I think that's a very different approach, and I think that's why we're going to see more quality, more innovation, more risks taken by these new companies like Netflix and Amazon. And if there are any others, if there are any other outside of Hollywood production companies or production, you know, avenues that you guys know of that I don't, please share and let me know. But yeah, I'm happy to see it, and I really think that is the difference. I think it's the quality versus, you know, quantity in terms of, you know, butts in seats. So let's see what we got here. I got a few more comments. Trevor says, for me, the best examples of directing, acting, and cinematography are found in short series and TV now. A good example for me is The Crown, which I think is the best show in production for sure. Yeah, so that's another thing that's happening, is we're seeing a lot more of these sort of short series, like not the traditional like 24 episodes, you know, like TV series that we used to see, but, you know, Netflix is producing a lot of content and a lot of shows. And I really haven't watched many of them because I don't watch a whole lot of episodic content. And I thought about bringing that into the mix today, but I really wanted to kind of just steer more towards Hollywood and traditional format, long format films. And yes, these series and TV shows and stuff that are being done with higher, you know, quality acting, higher budgets, you know, amazing cinematography, are also switching our paradigm of how we consume content. You know, maybe we are no longer going to a theater to see a 2-hour story. Maybe instead we're watching a 10-hour story that takes place over 10 weeks, or in the case of Netflix, they just serve it all up to you at once. And so it sort of shifts the storytelling dynamic and what they can do, you know, 10 hours versus 2. And I think it's a really interesting new market and a new way of storytelling. But I really, you know, I'm just focusing today mainly on, you know, traditional long form film. You know, your 2-hour, hour and a half, 2-hour type production, because that's really what Hollywood is making. You know, that's what they do. I haven't seen them do any like real series type stuff, at least not traditionally. I guess that's not true. I'm digging myself a hole here. Basically, we're just talking about films. Let's see here. New Legend says, you mentioned Coco earlier. That was actually my favorite movie of 2017. It had an amazing message and had a great twist. Yeah, I have heard that everyone who has seen that has absolutely loved it, that it's really emotional. A lot of people really enjoyed it. I haven't seen it yet. I admit that. I do want to check that out and see what it's all about. But that's great to hear. Your favorite movie of 2017. That's awesome. New Legend says, and the CGI was superb. Yeah, I've seen some of just the clips and stuff, and yeah, it looks like just technically amazingly well done as well. So, hey, my wife is in here. Hey, baby. And yeah, she confirms what I told you guys earlier. She says, that's a big no for me on it. Yeah, she will not be watching that movie with me. I will be watching that with my horror movie buddy friend whenever we both have free time. So. Tim says, it isn't scary. It's more story than horror. It's like Stranger Things scary. I don't think you're going to win this battle for me there, Tim. And sadly, I will admit, neither of us have seen Stranger Things. That's a whole topic for another day. You guys can berate me as much as you want. Maybe I will watch it. But like I said, I just don't watch a whole lot of episodic stuff. So let's see here. We went through the list that made me all infuriated by what's making money. So I'll leave the chat open for a little bit longer here and hang out with you guys. But so we can see that there is sort of a shift, and I think that there is a problem in upper level Hollywood at the executive producer and producer level, and you know, the money making decision level. That is sucking a lot of the creativity out. They don't take as many risks, and I think they should, because there are some movies that are risks that have been some of the best films of the year. And I get that it's a business, and that losses hurt. You know, when you take a risk and a film isn't good, you know, that is a failure. But you know what? It's better than just having a movie mill that is just cranking out the same stuff over and over and over again. We like to see these new and innovative stories. We like to see the craft of cinematography and filmmaking executed by artists who are passionate about the story. So that's something that we want to see. And I think we are starting to see that from outside sources like Netflix and Amazon Prime, who are quickly emerging into the market and are going to be taking a cut out of Hollywood's wallet because they are giving us the content that we want. And a lot of and what I mean by that is like the content that we didn't know we wanted. You know, we know we want superhero movies. Yes, we know that. But when something comes out and it's a story that we had never thought of, we're intrigued, we're interested, we enjoy the story, we enjoy the experience. And so they're giving us good quality stuff that keeps our brains active a little bit, as opposed to just watching flashing explosions and all that kind of stuff. Which we're all guilty of. Admit it. We love it. Sometimes you just want to turn off and watch. But there you go. Tim says, Stranger Things Season 1 is a must-watch. See, I knew I'm going to get flack from it. You can berate me about it after the show, Tim. I'm sure you will. Maybe you'll get me to cave and watch it. I have no objections to watching it. I just didn't hop on the bandwagon, and I don't have time. Is that a good excuse? No, it's a terrible excuse. I don't know what my excuse is. I just haven't. So let's see here. Trevor says, I don't think I have a best movie of 2017. It's probably the first year I became more invested in short form and episodic. Maybe next year will be better. And you know what? I think a lot of people are going the way that you are. I think this short form and episodic stuff is growing, and it's appealing to a lot of people. And so maybe we'll see a shift away from traditional long form cinema altogether. Who knows? Trevor says, watch one episode of The Crown. You'll thank me later. I think my wife watches that. Jesse, don't you watch that show? I think that's what she's always watching when I'm in here working and shooting YouTube videos. Stock Productions. Hey, my buddy Tommy over there at Stock Productions. It is never too late for Stranger Things. I knew I shouldn't have opened that Stranger Things door. So to bring this to a close, guys, I want to hear from you guys. I know Trevor said he doesn't have a best movie of 2017, but let me know what some of the movies are that you enjoyed that you think were great films. Well done, great story, great character development, whatever it may be. Let me know what some of your favorites were. Let's try and keep them within the past 2 years. So if you want to do 2017 and dip even into like 2016, but we're trying to see some recent developments and see what sort of the status of Hollywood and filmmaking is. And also let me know, guys, if there are any things. I gave the example of that movie Bright on Netflix. Let me know if there are any other movies that are made by Netflix or Amazon Prime or any other outside of Hollywood source that you really, really enjoyed, and you think that myself and everybody here on the channel and the audience should see, because we want to know that this content is out there and we want to be able to find it. So if you guys have seen anything like that, so there you go. Favorites from Hollywood, favorites from not Hollywood. Go, let me know. Let's do this. So let's see here. My wife is getting me in more trouble. He also has never seen Game of Thrones. Baby, stop throwing me to the wolves here. Yeah, so I don't watch episodic stuff. It just doesn't happen. I watch like the X-Files because I'm a fanboy and I'm so happy that it's back. But yeah. I saw one episode of Game of Thrones, baby. You made me watch it. I watched it, so. And I didn't understand the story because I was thrown into the middle of it. But yeah, the cinematography and the locations and stuff was gorgeous. I have no opposition or objections to it, except that Game of Thrones really isn't my sort of subject matter that I kind of enjoy. But I just haven't. But yeah. See, Trevor's seen even less Game of Thrones than I have. He hasn't even seen a single episode. At least I've seen one. So there we go. So guys, yeah, I'll stay on here for a few more minutes, but if you have any recommendations for favorite Hollywood-made movies or favorite non-Hollywood made movies, please do let us know. Otherwise, I'm going to get this sort of wrapping up here. And even after the live show, if you guys are catching the replay, or if you guys are here in the live and want to come back because something comes to your head that you didn't think of, please leave it down in the comments down below, so that everyone can go through and check it out, and hopefully we can share some great stories with each other, and that would be awesome. And of course, if you're here for the first time, or for some reason you're here for the umpteenth time but still haven't subscribed, make sure to click that subscribe button down below while you're here, guys, and click that notification bell so you can be notified every time that I have a video or go live. So there we go. Let's see here. Stock Productions. Tommy says, didn't see many movies in the theater this year, but I have to go with Star Wars and It, fanboy. Yeah. Well, you have an excuse for not going to see many movies in the theater this year, Tommy. You have 2 young twins at home, so I don't blame you for not making it out that much. And judging from that box office top chart that we were looking at Box Office Mojo, I don't think you missed a whole lot. There's a lot of stuff on there that made a lot of money that I don't know if it deserved to make a lot of money. My watch is telling me it's time to stand up. Apparently live streams are not good for your health. Who knew? But yeah. So Tommy says, "What Happened to Monday" was pretty good. Netflix. So is that a series, or is that a just like a film? Let me know. But What Happened to Monday? I think I heard of that one. I'll have to go ahead and check that out. But anyway, guys, speaking of being notified when I have live shows, of course, this live show is every Saturday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And next week is no exception. I will be back here with you at 1 p.m. And we have a new topic of discussion. Next week, we are going to be talking about tools for camera movement and when to use what. And yes, that is my car, and that is my rig right there. No, I'm absolutely kidding. That is not my car. That is just a clickbaity thumbnail that I admittedly put together for it. But we are going to be talking about different tools for camera movement. We're going to talk about, like it said, when to use what tool. And I'm going to share with you guys some of the tools that I have that I use in particular. So make sure to tune in next week, Saturday, 1 p.m. Eastern Time, when we go over tools for camera movement, because moving the camera is very important. And yeah, so Tommy says, "Sexy fade." Wait, you, okay. What are you talking about? You talking about my fade to the screen for next week? So here we go. Oh, tools for camera movement. There we go. All right, sorry guys, I'll stop messing around now. But yeah, so that is that right there. That will be next week. I am going to be traveling to North Carolina to shoot some projects on Monday. I will be there all week, but I will be coming back on Friday, so I will try and make sure that I'm nice and well rested for the live show on Saturday. But yeah, we should be good to go. So I'm going to go ahead and bring this to a close, guys. Thank you very much to all of you who participated in the chat. I really appreciate you guys coming and hanging out with me, taking a little chunk out of your Saturday. And I will see you guys next week, same time, same place. You guys take care, and I'll see you then.